as a provider of virtual assistants. That can also extend to what this policy covers is some breaches of confidentiality, some losses of documents, some defamation cover. So say one of the virtual assistants accidentally makes a mistake, sends off information they weren't supposed to send off, sensitive information, and it gets back to someone else that wasn't supposed to know it, and your client lost out, then they can potentially come back.
Hey guys, it's Lynn here, founder of Outsourcing Angel, a virtual assistance company, and I'm also the co-founder at Dawn Media Productions, a video marketing agency. Now, on this channel, I'm here to help you build a business so that you have more free time to spend with your loved ones. Now, in this video, you will meet William Gomez, an insurance broker I'm personally using for my company, Outsourcing Angel. Now, I invited William here to explain to us the insurance that we can use to protect ourselves when we are running an online business, and the different types of cover and how to know what's the right insurance for you. For many years, I didn't bother looking into insurance, but as the business grew, I think that not having an insurance puts us in a lot of risk. So if you're running a service-based business like a virtual assistant agency, or maybe a marketing agency that hires VAs from overseas, or you're working with clients around the world, then this video is perfect for you to learn how to protect yourself from bad business situations. Let's hear what William has to say. Hey William, so good to have you here today.
Hi Lynn, thank you for having me.
And it's so good to be on a different seat today, where normally I would have been your client asking for an insurance back in the days. And now I actually really want to pick your brain because you're the expert and experienced in this area. I've actually got like a mastermind program. And one of the recent questions from one of the students was like, what insurance do we need? And surprisingly, like for many years, I worked without an insurance because I was just one of those daredevil, right? As you grow, my business grew to 7 figures, I really didn't want to take that risk anymore. And that's when I engaged you and asked you, okay, what insurance do I need? And so today I just want to share exactly what I kind of had to go through with you, and you explained to me about the type of business that I'm in and the questions that you need to know in order to give me the quote for that, right? So yeah, I mean, first up, William, tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the insurance industry for and a bit about the insurance company you actually work for.
Yep, perfect. Thanks, Lynn. My journey started back in 2012, actually. And just like a lot of people in the insurance industry, I never, when I left high school, I never said I wanted to be an insurance broker or working for an insurance company. It's like 99% of people fell into it. So I fell into it as well. My first role was motor claims handler for Allianz back in 2012. From then, I had a best friend who actually worked for Zurich Insurance, which is a Swiss company that does commercial insurance. So after 6 months at Allianz, he took me over to Zurich. I spent 6.5 years actually at Zurich, and that was across a few different roles. So one of them was underwriting, which is where you actually underwrite the risk. So you put a price to whatever the risk is. And then the second role that I actually really did enjoy, was a bit more challenging, was broker development, the BDM, like business development manager. And it's kind of like in that space where I really found that I loved the human, like the relationships that we build. But you find that when you work for one insurance company, you can only offer one set of solutions. So the natural progression for myself, being someone who's quite analytical and a solution maker, was to consider becoming a broker. So 3 years ago, I made the journey over to the current company that I'm at the moment. So Scott & Broad. So Scott & Broad, we're based up here in northern Sydney, so in Gordon, actually. And we're 102 years old this year.
Wow.
We're the oldest privately owned brokerage in New South Wales. And over those 102 years, one of the biggest philosophies for us has been the right protection. So it hasn't been about price. It's all about, giving customers the peace of mind that when they're actually paying for something, it's actually going to respond. I guess that's been my journey over the last 10 years.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, yeah, it's definitely nearly a decade of insurance experience compared to myself, who I had zero knowledge about insurance and kind of like, fingers crossed nothing really happened. And luckily it didn't really. And so when I came to you, I guess, what did you wanted to know from me in order? Okay, so obviously to everyone here, I run a VA company. I hire Filipino virtual assistants. I service clients all around the world. And yeah, I came to you, I said, what insurance do I need? And so what would be the questions that you asked a client like myself?
Awesome. And it's very normal. So it's very normal that, you've got all these business ideas. like naturally business owners are risk takers, right? So, you jump forward with the idea, and usually insurance, or most of the time insurance is an afterthought. It's like, okay, wait, do we have that? Or maybe some client asks you, can I see a copy of it? So the initial questions I would probably ask you, number one, is we want to know exactly what it is you're doing. After we find out exactly what it is that you're doing, whether it's you're providing advice or you're providing some sort of professional service, or whether you're providing some sort of product, then it kind of helps us to understand, okay, well, if they're doing this type of service, these are the things that could go wrong. And from then, it's kind of a checklist with us as to, look, these are the main types of insurances that you would need to protect yourself. Like, obviously, number one, it's always going to be internal risk management. So making sure, your internal compliance and procedures are on point. You got backups, everyone's changing their passwords regularly. So everything else should be a standard.
Yep.
But the insurance policy should be something that sits at the back. So it's like a fail safe, oh, well, we made this mistake. Okay, well, now we can have the insurance policy to respond.
That's right. I just remembered now the reason why it kind of triggered us to do something about it as well. Because, back then we were dealing with a lot of solopreneurs and small businesses who didn't really care too much about us having an insurance. But we came across a company who needed to know that we have insurance. Not that they need it, it's even that they pitch or they tender for work that their clients need them to have insurance, and then as a byproduct they also want to know whoever they're buying from getting services from, they need to know that we have I think it was professional indemnity or public liability. I guess that's my next question. What is public liability and what is professional indemnity, and which one did I end up buying?
Yeah, no, good question. And look, I think that's also been the really fun part about working in insurance. It's been my way to kind of help people. I guess everyone's got their vehicle that they've got their specialty in, help everyone. So mine just happens to be insurance. So I love the educational part of it. So just to put it very simply, professional indemnity is a policy that's supposed to cover you for your professional services or any advice that you give to someone else, a client or a third party, in exchange for a fee. So if something was to go wrong, if you were to make a mistake in that advice and someone's relying on that advice, and because they relied on that advice, they suffer some sort of loss. For example, say an accountant. Someone comes to an accountant with their business and says, hey, look, I need to do my tax returns. Can you calculate it all correctly? They leave it in the accountant's hands. The accountant does the calculations and he says, you have to pay X amount. The person says, yep, that's cool. I'll pay that and I'm sweet. I'm sorted with the ATO. However, later on, the ATO comes back and says, hey, it was miscalculated. You owe us all this extra interest, X, Y, Z. That's when that client would potentially go back to the accountant and say, hey, I relied on you for your advice. And someone made a mistake and it's cost me money now. It's cost me a fine. It's cost me interest. I've lost out. I need to claim off you. That's professional indemnity.
Yep.
Say in your circumstance as well, as a provider of virtual assistance, that can also extend to potential. What this policy covers is some breaches of confidentiality, some losses of documents, some defamation cover. So say one of the virtual assistants accidentally, or one of the workers, whoever it might be, accidentally makes a mistake, sends off information they weren't supposed to send off, sensitive information, and it gets back to someone else that wasn't supposed to know it, and your client lost out, then they can potentially come back.
And then, so I remember getting professional indemnity from you guys because obviously I provide advice, etc. Public liability, did I end up getting that? And was that something? Yeah, what is that? Clearly?
Yes. So public, it's called. So the full name is Products and Public Liability, and you did get that. The difference between this policy and the professional indemnity policy is the professional indemnity policy. Your client suffers some sort of loss, but it's not physical. You can't see it. It's a financial loss. The public and products liability is some sort of physical loss. So your product, you're doing something, you're out somewhere, you're performing something, and you damage someone's property, or someone slips over, gets injured, or you injure someone, That's what that policy is designed to provide. So for someone like yourself, who is very, it's everything's done in an office. For someone else, like an accountant, insurance broker, everyone, it's all white collar work, not very manual work.
Mm-hmm.
The exposure is very low, because what are the odds of you going to injure someone? Unless, you're at a cafe, someone trips over your laptop bag, slips over. That's a very unfortunate.
Very rare, yes.
Yeah. So lower risk. However, as a professional, sometimes if you're hiring out an office space, they're going to ask it for the liability on the lease. So that's what you might need to consider. And also, if you go to a conference or a trade show or some markets where you're going to sell your product, they might ask for your liability.
Yeah.
As well.
So I know I'm in Australia and you're in Australia, and it was easy to buy from you, but does your company also do broking for people in other countries, or do you only service Australia?
It's got to be Australian domiciled businesses. So head office has to be in Australia. But however, we'd have Australian clients who are head office in Australia, but they can do some works overseas. So for example, we've got clients who say, 20% of their work is done in the US, 30% of their work is done in the UK. You can get a policy here that will protect your work in Australia, but also your work overseas.
That's right. So I remember you were going into quite detail of where am I actually doing work in? I listed down the cities in Australia as well as overseas. So you really wanted to know the percentage of how much is it overseas, right? Because it kind of all changes. And do you have you as a broker, how is the risk of yourself getting the right information from us and then getting the quote? What is kind of the risk for you as a broker?
In terms of not disclose, not getting.
Let's say you forgot to ask me something like that, and then I tell you, or maybe I tell you the wrong information, and how does that all, how does all the parties, the broker, those insurance company compare to you as a job? Just wanted to understand that process.
Yeah, so look, there is an element of trust between us and the insurance companies in terms of, where we have a certain code of conduct. So we're going to give the information to as best or as accurate as we can at that point in time. So with those insurance policies, when we have the conversation, we say, okay, give us a snapshot of what the business is like now, or your client in the different countries, what it is now. The insurer gets that information and they base the price at that point in time. And you kind of make a little bit of an estimate for what you think the next 12 months is going to look like. However, they don't require you to, in 6 months' time, be give us an update. They will do that the next 12 months renewal that comes along. So unless there's a massive change in the business, it's always about, if there's a material change, you have to let them know. So unless there's a big material change, that's when we would just out of courtesy let them know. But usually the insurance companies obviously have a great deal of trust.
Yeah, I get it now. I mean, for myself, I would want to give as much correct information, because whatever I'm buying, if it doesn't cover what I need, because when the time comes to claim, they're like, sorry, you didn't tell us about this, or you didn't cover it. So really, it's even our responsibility as a business owner to kind of make sure that our cover is accurate to what we need, right?
100%. And look, that's why, it's so easy, and it comes back to, why do you use a broker in the first place, right? It's so easy to go online, BizCover, or whatever those online platforms are, to get a quote yourself. But who knows whether that's the right cover for you, whether you've told them everything. That's why I guess when you've got a broker, the costing could be a bit different. However, it's that peace of mind that, okay, someone's gone through it, someone's explained it, and I know that what I'm getting is going to cover me. Yeah,
ultimately, I remember you gave us about, 6 different companies to choose from, and it had all had numbers and covers all that. And we're like, if it was you, which one would you choose? And you were able to say, okay, well, based on tell me, what are the reasons why some of the prices are different? So what I ended up paying maybe $3,000 or $4,000 a year, which is not that much. And what did it cover?
Yeah, so mainly it was the professional indemnity that we got, obviously covering all your professional services for what you do. There was an aspect of USA, Canada cover, which is not standard within policies. So if you want that type of cover, you have to ask for it. Hence,
Mm-hmm.
we had to ask for it after we found out that you did do some work there. So there was that policy. And then we also had the public and products liability cover that we also took out for yourself.
And it covered about how many millions of dollars was it?
So it was 1 million for the professional indemnity and then 20 million for the public liability. So usually 20 million is a pretty standard amount that a lot of people ask for public and private liability. For professional indemnity, it can start from as low as 1 million, but can go up to say 10 to 20 million, depending on, what if a contract requires you to have higher amounts.
Yeah.
As you go up.
That's right. So sometimes if you're dealing with a bigger client, and they have too much risk that they require you to already have insurance at that much. And then depending on the excess that you're willing to pay would also dictate how much the premium is, right?
Yes, definitely. So there's usually like a minimum excess that they would charge. Usually it's around $1,000, but it could go up. So if you want to take on a $5,000 excess, that could make your premium slightly cheaper. A $10,000 excess, that can lower the premium again.
What are the chances of businesses, because you've been in the business world for a while and businesses insurance specifically, what are the chances of other business just knowing that you have an insurance and then try to, claim that you ruined something and try to get insurance? Does that ever really happen?
I guess with everyone, everyone's, I guess, in certain times are going to get pretty desperate and try and explore every avenue. I guess it probably has happened, but I guess in terms of relationships, sometimes insurance is there to kind of build trust as well. Like number one, it kind of shows, obviously, you're in a sense maybe perceived a bit more professional than someone who might not have it. But also there's that peace of mind for that company. If something goes wrong, they're not going to have to send the lawyers after you, chasing you. You have the potential to claim on your policy that could potentially reimburse them as well. So they know that that's in place, and that's probably going to be a lot easier for them to recover a loss from, rather than them having to chase you directly.
So just as a recap, what some of the things that it covers for, so if you're a VA agency or an online business, buying something like this will cover, like I can see, is loss of documents. Yep. There is privacy breach. There is defamation. There's dishonesty of insured person. What does that really mean? That's a little bit unclear. And then obviously privacy and confidentiality is a bit more clear. What's dishonest of insured persons?
Yeah, so dishonesty of insured persons is, say you've got an employee who does the wrong thing in terms of does an error on purpose or steals something from a client. Basically, what the policy is designed to do is, if that act by someone who's doing something dishonest brings about a claim against you, because then that client who lost out because your employee was being dishonest will come against you and say, hey, you know what, I've lost X amount of money, I want you to pay. So the policy is designed to protect you, the business owner, in case one of your employees does something they're not supposed to do that causes someone to come after you. So it's a pretty standard cover, but basically it's protecting the people who haven't done anything wrong, but someone in the organization did do something wrong that caused a problem.
And I just remembered now, as you said, because I remember going, okay, but what's other benefits of having insurance? And I remember you were saying, like, if someone got their lawyers to sue you, let's say, even the process of you getting your lawyer, putting things together, that's already started to be covered in the insurance policy or something to do as well, right?
Yeah. So the basis of how the professional indemnity policy is an access to lawyers. So you get your own set of lawyers with that professional indemnity policy. So basically, what happens is if you get an email from someone, hey, 4 months ago this happened and I lost this, and I'm sending you this invoice now. I want you to reimburse me. The first thing you would do is you'd send it through to myself and be like, hey, Will, just gotten this notification about something that could become a claim. You send it to myself. I have a look at it, and then we send it straight off to the insurance company. They have a look at it, and then they say, okay, give us a few more details about what this is. And then they will appoint a panel lawyer to you. And then the panel lawyer will start helping us to find out what it is. And then if they get a lawyer involved, then the insurance company's lawyer starts to fight for you. Right? That's in essence what the policy is designed to protect you from.
Yeah, it's such a peace of mind knowing that, hey, I don't know what to do with this. Someone else can handle it and also help you fight the case, because sometimes you could actually be or blamed for the wrong reason and you don't know. And you're like, okay, I'll just pay it because I'm scared.
And that's the other thing as well. Like if you had bought your policy online, you're the one who's going to be calling up the insurer and saying, where's this at? Where's this at? Where's this at? And when the response comes back, who are you gonna look at it and try to argue it? No one.
Yeah.
You're either gonna have to go to your lawyer friend or your partner or someone to be like, okay, how do we respond to this? Whereas that's what a broker does. A broker is the one who argues on your behalf, who says, okay, you know what, maybe there's another way to argue this.
Yeah, totally. Well, yeah, for $3 or $4 a year, I really felt like it was a no-brainer to cover, with such a big backup of support from the insurance company. And for yourself, like, how do people work with you if they're interested to explore what insurance they need? How do they get in contact with you, Will?
Yeah, look, definitely. Obviously, a call, an email. To me, look, it's always good to have an initial, short 15-minute conversation about, what they do, what they're after. For some people, they still enjoy that, them going out and getting their own insurance policy, and their requirements might be pretty simple, that they can do that at a cost-effective rate. However, it's good in that initial conversation. We usually find out, what's your expectations? This is how I operate. We do things properly. This is the strategy. And then usually if people are like, look, you know what, this is something for me, then that's how we can progress things to the next stage.
That's awesome. And then if they are not from Australia, like, where do you recommend them go if they're needing like insurance brokers from another country?
Yeah, look, definitely. Depending on what the country is, look, you can still probably reach out to myself. Scott and Broad is part of a big group called Steadfast. Steadfast is probably one of the biggest groups in Australia. Across the world, they have different preferred partners. So we can definitely, depending on the country, point you in the right direction of saying, okay, where do you live? We've got an accredited partner who is recommended by the group that could assist you overseas.
Yeah, well, awesome. Thank you so much, William, for your time today. I learned so much, and I'm sure the audience will too. So thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Thanks for the opportunity.
Well, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'd love to hear in the comments below if you have any questions for William or myself around insurance. And of course, if you'd like to learn more about how to start and grow your business, then check out my next video here.